Hello friends, welcome to PulsePoint. In this episode, a snapshot of the review into euthanasia in New Zealand. Anger grows as safeguarding our children from puberty blockers is further delayed because of consultation. Drug use continues to rise in Aotearoa. And for petrol heads, Jaguar goes woke. This and much more to come. Let's get into it. I'm James Williams. The review into the End of Life Choice Act was released last week, and we think it's important to provide a detailed summary of the contents, in particular some of the points of concern. Let's start with some statistics. The Ministry of Health states between 7 November 2021 and 30 September 2024, there were 2,482 applications for euthanasia, of which 978 resulted in an assisted death. As you can see from the graph on screen, the amount of assisted deaths has grown year on year. In terms of who has applied to be euthanized, here's the breakdown. As you can see, it is basically a 50-50 split between males and females. Interestingly, 50 people aged between 18 and 44 applied to be euthanized. And it is sad to see that nearly 1 in every 4 applicants had not yet received palliative care before wanting to end their life. In terms of ethnicity, nearly 80% of applicants were New Zealand European. And for those who applied and did not end up receiving euthanasia, 635, or around 25.6%, people died of their terminal illness or underlying condition during the process or before their scheduled assisted death. 494 were found to be ineligible and their application did not progress. 166 people lost competence during the process, and 123 people chose not to proceed and rescinded their application. The review mentioned that one potential breach of the Act had been referred to police to be investigated, but gave no further information. I will now highlight some recommendations in the review which are of concern, but remember, these are only recommendations at this stage. Medical professionals who have so far distanced themselves from the process of euthanasia would be expected to provide all information that a reasonable health consumer would expect to receive, including an explanation of the options available. The Ministry of Health and Health New Zealand may advertise euthanasia by providing information related to assisted dying services and contact details. Requests for cool-down periods to safeguard against people in pain making impulsive decisions was rejected, despite it stating in the report that the requirement might improve safety. Timeframes around when the assisted death takes place should be removed so the timing can be more flexible and immediate if chosen. Care facilities, including the likes of hospices, rest homes, and even disability care providers, must provide access to assisted dying. And allowing nurses to provide the main role in the euthanasia process and remove wording which states they must work under the instruction of a medical practitioner. All this because there are not enough medical professionals who are willing to do it, especially in rural areas. Also mentioned in the review is that the term terminal illness is not defined in the Act and is causing some ambiguity about whether a terminal illness must be incurable. For example, it is unclear whether an individual has a terminal illness if that illness is likely to end their life within 6 months without treatment, but there is a chance that the progression of the illness and death could be managed, slowed, or even cured with treatment. And one last point of interest. The silence around the release of this report is astonishing. It seems that the mainstream media has turned a blind eye to the fact it's available. and the ministry just quietly put it on its website without any media release. Family First will continue to bring you the stories which matter, and please feel free to contact us should you find some news you think we would be interested in. There is growing anger that the latest review of the puberty blockers has not brought about immediate action. The harmful effects of puberty blockers have been discussed for years, and numerous countries have already taken action to severely limit the use of the drugs. However, in its review published last week, the New Zealand Ministry of Health has decided to conduct a period of consultation and in the meantime limit which doctors can prescribe the drugs. This review's completion date has been pushed out numerous times, and after a long wait it simply mirrors what other reports around the world have already said, which is that there is a lack of good quality evidence to back the effectiveness and safety of puberty blockers. It seems the Ministry of Health is also making sure it safeguards itself in this document, which was also released last week. It says the puberty blockers are not approved by MedSafe and are off-label drugs. And next paragraph, the clinicians need to make sure that the person receiving the medicine knows that the medicine is being used for an unapproved use and have an informed conversation with them about the potential risks and benefits. The Women's Rights Party have spoken out against the amount of time this process is taking, saying the Ministry of Health's decision to have a consultation period simply further delays safeguarding our children against puberty blockers. Co-leader Jill Ovens says the ministry has put New Zealand children at risk by continuing to allow off-label prescribing of puberty blockers at far higher rates than other similar countries. Ms Ovens also notes that the ministry says it wants to hear through its consultation process, particularly from organisations representing people who may be affected by safety measures or which may be involved in how safety measures are used in practice. Jill Ovens says this is like asking the fox for advice on how to guard the chickens. Our health authorities have remained hostage to a vocal minority who have vested interests and have put our children's health at risk of lifelong irreversible damage. Easy access and lower prices have seen drug use continue to increase in New Zealand. Surveys by the Ministry of Health and Massey University both show the alarming trend. As you will see, the New Zealand Health Survey results show all the illicit drugs captured in this survey all increased in use in the last year. Nearly 2 in every 10 people over 15 years of age, so around 16%, used cannabis in the last 12 months, up around 2% from the year before. Nearly 1 in 20 adults, about 4.8%, reported using ecstasy or MDMA in the 12 months prior to the 2023-24 survey, up from about 3.6% in the 2018-2019 survey. 2.4% of adults reported using cocaine in the 12 months prior to the survey, up from 1.5% in 2018-2019. And 3.1% of adults reported using hallucinogens, up from 2% in the 2018-2019 survey. Now let's look at some of the results of the New Zealand Drug Trends Survey. Now remember, this is an opt-in online survey. It shows that 70% of respondents had used cannabis within a 6-month period. That was more than those who stated they smoke cigarettes or vape. Those who said they drank alcohol were the only group which registered a higher result. MDMA also rated highly among the respondents at 45%, and cocaine shot up to 23% from 12% the year before. Access to most drugs had become easier within the last 12 months. For example, 85% of cannabis users reported that illegal cannabis was very easy or easy to get. Prices for cannabis, LSD and methamphetamine had also decreased during the last year due to its availability. Here you can see that a point and a gram of meth decreased 23 and 36% respectively. The survey also found that daily or near daily use of meth among respondents increased compared to the previous years. And in terms of income, well, lower income earners were spending the most on drugs, with more than 50% of respondents earning $60,000 or less per year. Now to Australia, and debate continues on proposed legislation which would ban children under 16 years of age from accessing social media. The new law could be passed by the end of this week. However, there have been mixed reactions to it, and many are requesting the decision should be delayed. Senator for Queensland, Matt Canavan, told Newswire that he's still unsure if he'll support it, saying the bill needs major changes. He also questioned why more explicit websites are not also covered under the legislation.
If YouTube's categorised or covered by 63C, returning to Senator Roberts' question, what is Pornhub covered by? Why wouldn't it be? It's just explicit material, but it's covered.
Yeah.
So it is covered.
No.
Well, the first limb of 63C1A is that the platform's sole or significant purpose is to enable online social interaction.
But if YouTube's covered, I mean, it has a video sharing for non-explicit content, video content, why wouldn't Pornhub be covered? Is Pornhub covered?
I think they have very different purposes.
Yeah.
Explain that to me. Sorry, I think this is...
Under the definition, we wouldn't see Pornhub as falling within scope. It's not seen as social media.
Just explain to me in simple terms how, if YouTube is covered, how would another video sharing service with explicit material, admittedly, not be covered?
So, again, Senator, it comes back to the commitment that the government's already made in relation to...
No, I'm not
YouTube.
asking for a commitment. I'm asking in the law. We've got to pass the law, not government's commitments. So in the law, how are these two services different?
I think YouTube and Pornhub are completely different.
I agree with that, but how are they differently defined in the law?
Well, Pornhub is a site for accessing pornography, which children are not permitted to access.
Show me in the law where that is excluded.
Well, it comes back to the evidence before about how Pornhub is subject to a suite of other rules and regulations.
Again, is that in the law?
And it's also not in, and I just want to sort of go through this very carefully, there's a question of whether Pornhub is treated as a digital platform as part of this, this bill, and the evidence is that we don't see it as having the characteristics of social interaction. It's a site for... I don't speak from any experiences, but based on the evidence, it's a site.
I'm struggling to understand here.
It's not a site that falls into the definition of social media.
This is very vague and unclear to, I think, any reasonable person about what's in and out.
Isn't it interesting that they want to ban children from social media, but Pornhub's totally fine? And finally, for the petrol heads, be sure to check out this week's McBlog, which shows how car makers, including Jaguar, have unfortunately gone woke.
Part of Jaguar's large rebrand towards electric vehicles after years of sluggish sales, the advertisement has been created with confusion and mockery online. Following the campaign's launch on Tuesday, many social media users dubbed the rebrand embarrassing and damaging to Jaguar's image as a luxury brand associated with the 1960s glamour and James Bond. Well, judge for yourself. There's certainly lots of gender non-conforming individuals. See if you can figure out which are the lads and which are the Sheilas. Have a watch. Well, Attitude is the UK and Europe's biggest selling LGBTQ magazine. And last month, Jaguar's Santino Pietrosanti talked on stage at the Attitude Awards 2024. Now, if companies want to lose their consumers, employ guys like this. Have a watch.
And at Jaguar, we're passionate about our people, and we're committed to fostering a diverse, inclusive, and unified culture that is representative not only of the people who use our products, but in a society in which we all live, a culture where our employees can bring their authentic selves to work. And we're on a transformative journey of our own, driven by a belief in diversity, inclusion, creativity, policy, and most importantly, action. We've established over 15 DEI groups such as Pride, who are here tonight in the back. Thank you guys for coming. Women in Engineering and Neurodiversity Matters. We've launched major policy revisions such as transitioning at work to drive equity and support for our communities, embracing individuality as our superpower.
But don't worry, there are some good signs from one car manufacturer, so please do check out the full McBlog. Thank you for watching PulsePoint. You can check out more on our website, familyfirst.nz. I'm James Williams. See you next week.